Cool.
All right, what's up? What's up? GC Live. We are here at Market on Main, flying by the seat of our pants as always. I'm Wes Mitchell. He is Chris Clark. First and foremost, if you're in the comments, we're going to need your help today because we are again live. We are on the road, which is always an adventure. So if at any point you cannot hear us, any point we need to get closer to this mic or you can't see us, we're going to rely on you guys and girls to help us out and tell us. Again, it is GC Live. We're 1 day away from kickoff, South Carolina versus Tennessee, 7:30 kick on Saturday, SEC Network. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited for our coverage on Gamecock Central. I'm excited to watch some football. I'm excited for everybody who's going to get the opportunity to come out to Market on Main and check out their watch party. And I'm excited about our primary sponsor here on GC Live, the home of the game day chair. Chris, before we get any further into breaking down this action, we do have Austin Price, VolQuest's.com. We got a lot to get to, man. So real quick, tell everybody about the home of the game day chair and what maybe Gamecock fans should look into for their next big purchase to watch the game at home.
Yeah, man, it would be a great investment to make. Again, not a lot of people going to home games this year because of the limitations on tickets. So if you're at home with your fridge, with your food, awesome setup, right? But you need a comfortable chair. So check out Affordable Medical USA, the game day chair. It is the Maxi Comfort with Twilight is what you need to look for on their website. There's also a link if you're on YouTube in the description, and also on GamecockCentral.com. If you go to our website, GC Live, there's a little module there. Front page content item, there's a link to the chair there. So super comfortable chair, variety of positions, awesome fabric. They're using the fabric in Gulfstream jets. Check it out. You won't regret it. It'll make your football watching hours really, really comfortable. So
again, we are at Market on Main. That is 1320 Main Street, downtown Columbia, Suite 150. But I mean, if you get here, you're going to see it. You can't miss us. We were a little bit worried. The reason we were late, we had a storm come through, and we got here fairly early, which for me is that's impressive.
That's an accomplishment.
It's an accomplishment. There's the word. But so got here early, was like, oh man, we're gonna get set up a little bit better than usual. And then what happens? It starts raining. But luckily, as you can see behind us, that is the beautiful seating area at Market on Main, where if you come to their watch party on Saturday night, South Carolina, Tennessee, that you'll be seated, and right above us, you can't see it because we are under a tent just in case this rain comes back. You'll be able to watch on their 23-foot LED screen. Tickets are still available for that. Just go to GamecockCentral.com. Go to Gamecock Central on Instagram. Go to Market on Main SC on Instagram, and you can get those tickets right now to go ahead and reserve your spot outside, social distanced, big screen TV, and before the game, there'll be live music here as well. So we appreciate Market on Main, one of our great sponsors on Gamecock Central. So yesterday, Chris, call-in show.
Yep.
That's sort of the final, I would say, public media setting for Will Muschamp prior to the game. So last main time he's going to talk. Of course, I saw Steve Fink tweeted that, Muschamp was doing his Zoom earlier today, including with Alyssa Lang, who, if you didn't see our interview yesterday, click back, youtube.com/Gamecock Central. We got a lot of good stuff from Alyssa. So you have basically, it's a little bit different this year, but still, we got call-in show yesterday, final public media deal. And there was some actual news from this one. Sometimes it's more repeating everything that's been said, let's be honest, all week long. And you'll get maybe a little tidbit here or there. But you look, yesterday we were waiting on the potential for the final lineup pieces to be announced. We don't quite have all the answers yet, but we did get some answers. Running back, we'll start there. That's a glamour position. goes the direction that I think we sort of hinted and said we thought it was going that way, but we had to wait and see for sure. Kevin Harris, the sophomore from Georgia, gets the first reps, the first snaps at running back, but comes with the caveat of three guys are going to play. Deshaun Fenwick, Zaquandre White. Again, that's a big deal that he appears to be 100% healthy. So running back, I would say, Chris, not a surprise because that's sort of what we've been saying, but it at least confirms what we've been saying as far as how that's going to play out. So maybe for the Gamecock fans, obviously we saw Kevin Harris play a little bit last year, scored some touchdowns, was used, I would say, mop up plus short yardage duty was sort of his MO. What's your take on Kevin Harris's skill set? I think we now know sort of how the rotation may go, but what's your take on him as a player?
Well, definitely a little bit more of a straight ahead, the north-south runner. We like to make fun of ourselves and throw out a bunch of cliches. That would definitely be one with Kevin Harris. North-south runner, not a big dancer. He's not going to be as dynamic as, say, Zaquandre White is, right? But he can make guys miss. He can run through contact. We saw that in spurts last year. Now, again, did he do it as a starter against great competition? No, not always. But he's a big, powerful guy, who can run behind his pads. Marcus Lattimore giving him some love.
He did. That's a great cosign.
That is.
And we got some appetizers coming up here. Awesome. What's your name, man?
Trip.
All right, we got Trip. Trip's behind the bar for lunch. You here later on, or when are you leaving?
Like an hour and a half break, and I'm coming back in at 4.
Okay, so come see Trip today. He's hooked us up with some pretzel bites. Yeah, appreciate it. We got some pretzel bites. Again, we're at Market on Main. But, yeah, so all the cliches, north-south runner. But, man, when you get the cosign for Marcus Lattimore, first of all, I would say that means you carry yourself correctly, right?
Yes.
I mean, if Marcus Lattimore is talking you up, that means he appreciates the way you carry yourself, the way you work, stuff like that. So that was nice. I'm sure for Kevin Harris, that's a little vote of confidence because this is one of the top 5 running backs in South Carolina history, maybe the most beloved player in South Carolina history, going out of his way to say this guy's ready. So, it sounds like Kevin Harris. There are still questions at running back. We all know that.
Yeah.
But Chris, Kevin Harris, it sounds like, has worked to earn this first carry. He battled to the very end, the Thursday before kickoff.
Yeah.
But again, our word of the offseason has been consistency.
Yeah.
And the need for consistency at some positions. And the staff has gone out of their way to say Kevin Harris has been the most consistent. So it sounds to me like that is being rewarded with your name across the Jumbotron at Williams-Brice, listed as a starter, named as a starter, which is to guys that can be special considering how open this competition has been.
Yeah, it has been, and exactly what you said, consistency. When it is that close, and we don't think there's some huge gap right between guys. Thanks,
all
man.
right.
Appreciate you.
Y'all want to catch up with that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Cool,
definitely.
cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So yeah,
All
we
right.
got some more food here. We'll talk about the food for sure. But finish up on Harris. Consistency when things are that close, and here's what I'm looking forward to. Harris in his first, not maybe you don't want to say the guy, right? Because it could be fluid, but his first opportunity to start. Deshaun Fenwick's going to get the most important carries that he's had in his career so far. And we're going to see Zaquandre White for the first time ever. And so I think it's really, really interesting because they need those guys to play well against Tennessee. And then I'm interested to see how things go, after the Tennessee game. Is one guy going to separate within his carries in this game and make the staff go, okay, we need to play this guy more? Maybe that's Kevin Harris. I don't know. But I just think there's so many questions about that position that's going to be really interesting to watch it.
Dude, get you one of those.
These are good.
Those are amazing.
Queso here.
Yeah, some queso, some pretzels. Hey, Jay Metz, if you're hungry, come on down, man. We're at Market on Main. Hey, if y'all swing by, first person that comes by, I'll give you something free. I'm not going to promise what it's going to be, but I'll give you something. It might be one of these pretzel bites. It might be that chair over there, but I will give you something free if you come on down to Market on Main, say hello. Seriously, I'll get you hooked up with something if you're the first person here. I want to know what's up with where's Kev Roche? My man, I see.
Buddy.
Oh,
Sorry
thanks,
about
man.
that.
No, you good, dude. Trip hooking us up. Kev Roche, I know you're out there listening. He always says he's going to come see us, never shows up.
I think
So
he listens late sometimes.
Yeah,
he
Kev.
texted me about the show last night.
come on down. All right.
Yeah.
So Keith Gillespie on Facebook. While we're talking running backs, I like when you guys are tuned in and y'all go to a point that either we were going to get to or that we should get to, and it jogs my memory. Adam Prentice, I would say, probably going to be one of the most not talked about, but then influential players on this team this year, because fullback, much like offensive line to an extent, it's not a glamour position. You don't always get the love. Now, I think people, especially maybe, how should I say this? Maybe our little bit older Gamecock fans who grew up in a different style of football probably appreciate an Adam Prentice quite a bit, right?
Right.
We've gotten calls for the fullback position to be used when South Carolina was full on spread, hurry up, no huddle, and you just don't see it as much in college football anymore. But I think Adam Prentice, he's a headhunter, tough kid. He's a veteran, even if it's not at the SEC level. And then behind him, my guy, Sean Mcgonicle. You know, I love the Myrtle Beach guys.
That's right.
Sean Mcgonicle as his backup, I believe. Those guys are going to be a part of the offense. We don't know how much. It may vary from game to game how much we see them. But I think that's a name for Carolina fans to remember and keep an eye on this Saturday, tomorrow, as South Carolina kicks this thing off.
Do you remember how important, a Pat DeMarco was?
And we've got quite a few people mentioning that very thing right on
There
cue.
we go. Yep. So, I mean, and DeMarco, look, boy, setting the bar high for Adam Prentice. We're not making that comparison, right? DeMarco, 10 years in the league or something like that?
Mhm.
So you don't want to go there. But, in terms of impact, he was a guy that, ask Marcus Lattimore about Pat DeMarco, and what he could do in that offense. He made some key blocks, was a really, really important player. So Adam Prentice could be sort of that unsung hero if South Carolina can find some success on the ground, which is going to be key. And probably, given some of the questions at receiver, you really got to think that Mike Bobo would love to establish the run. And so that's when Nick Muse and Adam Prentice and the offensive line and really these backs, man, you're not going to block people every play in the SEC. Will Muschamp talks about it all the time. So it's up to Harris and Deshaun Fenwick and Zaquandre White to make some things happen. And I did see a question, could White end up being the guy? Yeah, he could be. He we've said this before, I think he's the most dynamic guy, but he's just got to get his feet wet a little bit more in this offense, and I think it's going to be interesting to watch it play out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and I think Muschamp did, I won't say go out of his way, but he did say Kevin Harris is the starter. He gets that distinction by his name. But all three guys are going to play, and all three guys are going to play in the first half. So that tells you, right, how many drives do you – and this is going to be, I would think, a shortened –
Yeah.
But both sides trying to establish the run. This is not going to be one of those games where both teams run 100 plays on offense.
Right.
So
Yeah.
You look at game flow, what do you get in a half? 7 possessions?
Yeah.
Or so. I don't
Yeah.
know what the average is.
Yeah.
But
Can be less. Can be, yeah.
if all three guys are going to play, does Harris get the first 2 drives and then somebody else is on? It sounds like that to me when he says all three will play in the first half. There's a little distinction there. There's a little nuance there between even saying all three guys are going to play at some point. That means these guys are going to get a shot. And again, I think we've made this prediction before, and I think we're kind of on the same page. If White is as healthy, as they think he is, he may even be the third guy out there. According to the depth chart, he would be.
Yeah.
But I think they keep talking about the juice this kid brings, right?
Yeah.
There maybe is something palpable there where he comes out and adds a little energy to the huddle. And if the other guys feed off of that, I think he may be hard to take off the field. But then there's still, Chris, situationally, even if Zaquandre White takes over as the guy, I think third and short, goal line situations, Harris is back in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and maybe that's what Zaquandre White starts off a little bit situationally. You know, that's something that we heard when South Carolina was recruiting him, was that he's a guy that you would really make a concerted effort to get on the edge. The toss sweep that Mike Bobo runs sometimes in his offense, you know, some type of stretch play, something where you're getting him on the edge. Now, he can run between the tackles. We know that. But just letting him sort of turning him loose, that's sort of right up his alley. And so I'll be really curious to see sort of how he's deployed. And then, you know, he is a guy that I think could continue to see his playing time go up as the season progresses.
You caught me right in the middle of
yeah. I stopped at that exact time just so you would have a pretzel bite in your mouth. So,
what'd you order, man? It looks amazing.
So, yeah, we got the Reuben with pastrami, of course. And then we got some fries. And Wes has some fried avocado tacos, which is the taco special today.
Which I've never had before.
Looks really good.
But I just randomly picked tacos. I didn't even know what was going to be on it, but it does look good. Again, we're at Market on Main. Come say hello. Come see us. Chris will give you something free. Chris is having a beverage. And let's see. You want to tell him? Question there at the bottom.
Oh, they gave us a southbound mountain jam. I'm sorry. And then we got the pretzel bites, and then the food. So good stuff here at Market on Main.
So we had a question. We see two of those backs in the field or on the field at the same time. You know, I don't know. I think there will be a lot of two back, but are you taking Adam Prentice off the field in those situations? You know, maybe you could see Kevin Harris in some up back situations. We saw that some last year. It gives you a little more of an opportunity, you know, to use the fullback dive if you establish that Harris can be in there as the up man.
Yeah.
But you almost have to use him a few times as a blocker, or else they're just going to key on that, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think you could do it. I think you could see it, but we'll see. I think that's maybe what I'm most excited about as someone who covers the team, as someone who's a football fan. I hear little things here and there about this offense. You hear the word multiple. We've overused that word all offseason. There's some creativity to it. I feel comfortable saying that. The guys are excited. The guys are confident. I feel comfortable saying that. I think plays will complement other plays, which maybe we didn't always see. Yeah. I think philosophically, and I wish we had Eric Kimmery here right now, but philosophically, some offenses are more these days about let's call a play, let's get to the line of scrimmage, call an RPO, and then whatever the defense does, we're going to make the correct read.
Yeah.
And when you're doing that, if you make the correct read, if you have the right athletes, it can be very successful. But also, it does sort of let the opponent dictate what you're going to do. In theory, that you want the defense to always be wrong, right?
Yeah.
But in some ways, that takes away that opportunity to call plays to set up other plays.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that Mike Bobo, you know, a true sort of system, I guess you could say, where he's got a lot of stuff on tape from his entire career. When you're talking about going up against a Mike Bobo or a Jim Chaney from Tennessee, who's been around a long time, man, there's a lot to take in there because both of these guys have spread elements. They've got pro style elements. They go they go 4 wide. They use an H back. They use 2 tight. They use 3 tight. You know, so there's a lot of different things there that you got to look at. And so some of what Mike Bobo can do, and maybe this offsets. We know that South Carolina has questions in the run game. We got questions at receiver, at skill position. Maybe Mike Bobo can scheme up some things to offset. Maybe some of his shifts, some of his motions, some of the ways that he sets up plays, can sort of offset some of that for South Carolina to sort of scheme them up some success instead of just relying on athletes.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. That's that's going to be fun to see, and it's going to be fun to see how it progresses as the year, goes along. I think so. The other announcements, we're going to get to Austin Price here momentarily. Covers Tennessee for VolQuest's.com. We'll give you some, a different perspective on things and give you a little more insight on what's going on their side of things. But the other announcements being the return game. Jamie Robinson is your punt returner.
Yep.
Shi Smith, your kickoff returner. DeCarrion Joyner is sort of that up-off man. I think a lot of times – now we'll see. One thing that has not been talked about at all has been that Kyle Krantz is taking over as a special teams coordinator. How much has that storyline been mentioned? I would say virtually none.
Hardly at all, because there were so many other changes, where you had, sort of monitoring your recruiting class down the stretch, other coaches come in. So, yeah, it hasn't been. And so, look, there were some reasons to sort of wonder about it going into this year because of that. Not that Krantz isn't capable of doing it, but it is his show for the first time. He's always helped on it. But Coleman Hutzler, who's run special teams for a while, on staff at Texas now. Then, you got Krantz, then you lose Joe Charlton, so you're relying on a freshman now as a punter. You feel good about Parker White. Kroger is very talented, but he is a freshman. That word, again, consistency, that's what they're looking for. And then just schematically, it's hard for sort of just watching a game to pick out schematically on special teams.
Especially special teams.
It's very difficult to pick it out, but we did hear early that they were going to do some things differently. And Rod Wilson, an assistant special teams coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, they're really good. It helps with the guys that they had on that team, obviously. But he, I think, is bringing some stuff as well. So definitely, you're right, man, a storyline to monitor for sure.
I would say special teams changes most of the time. I like to think we cover the team and pay attention as much as anybody. If we don't, we're not doing our job. Yet, if you ask me, name who all the kickoff coverage guys were last year off the top of your head, I would struggle to just name off the guys. We look at the kicker, the punter, to an extent, the holder, and then the kickoff return guy and the punt return guy, right? As far as special teams go. I would imagine you'd almost have to be a special teams, like a high school special teams coach or something, to even notice some of the nuance, especially watching on TV when you're not getting
full angle.
You're not getting the all 22. So we'll see. But traditionally, I think Carolina has used where it's kind of staggered, but one guy's back, one guy's up and off. But most of the kicks that are deep, even that guy that's staggered deep, he rotates over unless it's almost directly to your up guy. So Shi Smith, he's done it before.
Yep.
He was one of a few guys. Xavier Legette was in that conversation as well. Jamie Robinson, J.C. Horn was in that conversation. We've seen what Shi can do. He can go do it. He's made some plays in that game.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see Jamie Robinson.
Yeah.
Because he's got some wiggle. You pointed out he did it in high school, right?
He did it in high school with a good bit of success.
So, we saw him dodging dudes left and right against Florida after that interception.
Yeah.
Almost to the extent that people were probably like, just go down, man. Like, you got the pick. He's,
right.
Shifting left, shifting right, hitting the juke button. And so I think if they can give him space, and that's always the thing with punt return.
Sure, yeah.
Can you get some space?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's just fair catch it and hold on to the ball. But Jamie, probably a little bit more of a traditional punt returner than we saw last year with 6'3", Brian Edwards.
And Brian, he can make some things happen too, in a little bit of a different way, not as as shifty, although he does have a little bit more wiggle than like you would think, just sort of watching him play. You just had that toughness, sort of vision and toughness, whereas Jamie, he's sort of a shorter, stockier, and sort of in a phone booth a little bit. So I think he'll have some if he gets room to break one or two, not for a touchdown, but I think he'll get some space to where he'll flash doing that. I think sometimes this season.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see him. We had a question. Bobo will be in the box. That's where he then obviously was head coach at Colorado State.
Yeah.
Since he's been offensive coordinator, he's been in the box, and that's in the game notes as well. A lot of guys not in the box this year, at least from what was listed.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. Do you remember who the offense? I tweeted it.
Offensive coaches in the box.
Yeah. Is it just Bobo and then
we knew it was Bobo and Krantz, right?
Okay.
And and that'll be different too, right? Now Krantz has been in the box before when he was like
Brent has
when
it
he
there
was off the field.
Yeah. I tweeted what it said in the game notes, and I've already forgotten what I
So that'll
said.
be interesting with Krantz in the box as a special teams coach. It's sort of interesting, right? I mean, I don't know the ratio of how many people nationally do that, but Coleman Hutzler is down on the field. He's also coaching a position, coaching linebackers. So a little bit different.
Yeah. But then that may be where having Rod Wilson comes in.
Yeah.
To sort of be the
relay
information. And special teams at South Carolina, I assume it's kind of like this everywhere. It's very much a team approach as far as the coaches go. But I would say Krantz, and this is completely a guess, right, on our part, Krantz relaying information to Rod Wilson down on the field.
Yeah.
Probably how you would do that. All right, so is this a good time to go to Austin Price?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna try out this food. This is a pre-recorded interview with Austin. So as I say every time, hopefully it works. If not, we got about 15 minutes to sort of fill here.
Yeah.
But all right, so we're gonna go to Austin Price. This was recorded on Wednesday, I think. So we're gonna go to that right now. And let's see. Here we go.
All right, joined now by Austin Price from VolQuest's.com. Really appreciate him taking some of his time, his valuable time out of his day to come chat with us about Jeremy Pruitt and the Vols. Austin does a great job covering football and recruiting at VolQuest's.com on the Rivals Network. Austin, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Everything's good, man. Ready for some football, week one. Really, yeah, we are. And really important matchup, week one. Going into this game, Wes and I talked a lot preseason and sort of looking at the schedule when it was still 12 games and saying, that Tennessee game is one that we had circled as being maybe the most important of the year for a lot of reasons. Recruiting, on field, SEC East sort of pecking order, trying to catch up to the Georgia and the Floridas of the world. That's sort of how we view it. Is that how you view it? Is that how it's viewed in Tennessee right now, or what's the feel over there going into this first game?
Well, I think for Tennessee fans, traditionally, obviously, they know that, they're a more historic program than South Carolina. But in the last 10 years, South Carolina has gotten the best of Tennessee on a good portion of the, of the times they played. So I think, to get Tennessee back to where Jeremy Pruitt's trying to get them to, winning the games like Missouri and Vanderbilt and South Carolina last year were huge, just for kind of turning the corner in one realm. Now I think to do this, back-to-back years and kind of get some momentum in those games that Tennessee had struggled to win the last 7 or 8 years. I think that's big. So I think right out of the gate to have this game on the docket, I think for both schools, it's a huge game. And realistically, I think the loser is going to have a tough time, I won't say recovering from it, but having the year they're wanting to have. I just think when you lose this game, because it's a real coin flip type of game, I think that it puts the loser behind the 8 ball, because South Carolina's schedule is really tough to start. Tennessee has Missouri second, but then, we'll play a 3-game stretch of Georgia, a Kentucky team that has high hopes, and then Alabama to close out the first half of the schedules. So, I think both teams need a win, and both teams need to avoid a loss. And sadly, that's not possible.
Right. So stylistically, these teams, there's obviously a lot of staff familiarity, right? With some guys that have, worked together in the past. Mike Bobo, Jeremy Pruitt, Will Friend, Tracy Rocker. There's a lot of carryover. There's a lot of familiarity. And stylistically, these teams, whether it's defensively or offensively, may do some things the same. But here's one thing I wanted to ask you about going to the Vols offense, Austin, is that, this is a team where, let's be honest, the difference in that game last year for the most part was Marquez Callaway and Juwan Jennings, what Jim Chaney did from a schematic standpoint to protect, but those two guys just won one-on-ones. They're not on the roster anymore. Tennessee's got a good O-line, good running backs, experience at quarterback. What are the skill positions look like at Tennessee in terms of pass catchers? How are they coping with losing those two guys?
Well, Josh Palmer ascends into the number one role. And then, and so the big question all offseason is, and I always equate it back to, it's easy to be Robin. It's not always easy to be Batman. And so can he be Batman? And, I'm not sure. We won't know until, Saturday night. And really, I don't even know if we'll know fully Saturday night, no matter what happens, just because it's only one game. So, in my estimation, the skill positions have a lot of promise. They just have a lot of inexperience. Tennessee's freshman wide receivers led by a guy that you guys may know very well, and that should be Jalen Hyatt. He and Malachi Weidman have had really good fall camps. Ramel Keaton's been solid, who is a true sophomore. Tennessee's had a guy like Cedric Tillman who's kind of, burst onto the scene. I joke that it's because he went from number 85 to number 4, and he just got a much better number. Nobody wears 85 anymore. This is in 1987. But Tennessee's skill positions have promise, a lot of high hopes, but they're unproven. So you're not going to know until you get there Saturday night. And you're right. Marquez won some one-on-one battles. Juwan one-on-one battles, but then Juwan also just was a competitor and would not be denied. I mean, South Carolina had him wrapped up a few times and just couldn't tackle him, as most of the SEC could.
Austin, appreciate you joining us, man. I think obviously for everybody covering a team right now, COVID and contact tracing or, some words that we've had to write probably a lot more than we wish. But certainly at Tennessee, I guess you go back, I don't know if that was 2-3 weeks ago when, they had to cancel the scrimmage over there. I don't know how much information y'all are getting or other schools are even giving out about that specifically, but how much of a issue or how much of a storyline is contact tracing still for Tennessee this week as we close in on the game, as far as we know, or have most of those guys, from what y'all have heard, been able to return to action, return to practice?
Well, it was a big deal last week. 2 weeks ago, it was an even bigger deal. It's gotten less and less.
Mm-hmm.
Latest rounds of tests, to my knowledge, Tennessee had no positives. And I think everybody's back. No one is out due to contact tracing. If you're out this week, it's because you turned an ankle or you've got a poor hamstring or you got back problems, whatever. Normal football injuries. No one's out due to contact tracing or COVID, which is nice. Obviously, I think all schools are going to use this. If they lose, well, we weren't ready because, so-and-so had to miss out on, a number of weeks. I mean, like Wanye Morris, he missed out 14 days for contact tracing, came back from one practice, then got pulled again the next day. And he missed 28 days.
Wow.
And never had COVID. So there lies the frustration for Jeremy Pruitt. Everybody's, dealing with this, and I think that, across college football, it's something you see every week. This team had to postpone. That team had to postpone. This person's suspended activities. But for Coach Pruitt, he's been really transparent through it all until he looked around and said, well, nobody else is being transparent. So what good does this do me? So now it's, hey, guys, we're not going to tell you if our number's 0 or if our number's 44. We're not going to tell you because it doesn't help us to tell you. We've been trying to be, transparent with you guys, and it did us no good, but ended up on the bottom line of ESPN that we had to miss a scrimmage because we had so-and-so number of kids out for contact tracing. So, that I think he's kind of changed his tune a little bit with how he's handling it, and so thus Tennessee's not going to release a number. Yeah,
no doubt. Big storyline across college football. Will Muschamp, same thing during his most recent media availability. Austin mentioned that, I think, Wes, correct me if I'm wrong, I had a couple of guys on the team that had to miss 28 days, I think, most of preseason camp because of contact tracing. Didn't
and in most instances, nobody had it.
Right, exactly. So it's it's been a difficult thing to navigate for everyone. Let's move on to another question, sort of burning question I got for you, and that is, we feel like we know some of the strengths of both these teams, right? But in your mind, what is the biggest strength of this Vols team? It can be any phase of the game, any side of the ball, and then what's the area where maybe you have the most question marks, or an area that you sort of feel like is vulnerable that could play into South Carolina's hands and vice versa?
Well, I think experience and continuity. Continuity with the fact that Tennessee's got the same coordinators back-to-back years. You look across the league, that's not always the case. Obviously, South Carolina's breaking in, Coach Bobo, who has called plays for years and years and years. But, I watched a quarterback battle in 2005 take place, and the team was divided. And then when things didn't go the right way, then it divided the team even further. Obviously, Helinski and Colin Hill have had a quarterback battle in fall camp, and only you guys could tell me whether it was close or what. But either way, they made their man, and it's Coach Bobo's guy from Colorado State. And so, I think the continuity of having the same coordinators helps Tennessee. I think the experience at quarterback, even though JG's been Jekyll and Hyde at times, I think that helps Tennessee. Tennessee's got a lot of experience on the offensive line. Their biggest question marks, to me, are at the defensive line and edge pass rusher. Can Tennessee get to Colin Hill on Saturday? Can they get in his face and make him really have to think on split second, or is he going to have all day to throw? Because I think if they set him back there and give him time to throw, he's going to have a nice night. So I think that's the biggest question mark: is can Tennessee get home without having to bring the kitchen sink?
Wes, you got anything else?
Yeah, I've been reading y'all's stuff on VolQuest. Obviously, if you're a Carolina fan, listen to this and want to sort of read up on the matchup from that perspective, go check them out. They do a great job. And you just mentioned the defensive line is sort of the edge rushers. Is that an area that Austin was expected to be a little bit of a question mark coming into the year, or has that been more of a surprise as camp has gone along and as the coaches have talked about areas of concern that has kind of just stood out? I did see, I think y'all had reported a fair amount of Tennessee's pressure last year was from, bringing extra guys, bringing blitzers as opposed to getting there with the front four. So has that sort of been a little bit of a surprise, or was that sort of just what y'all thought coming in?
Well, I think that, last year they were able to get home with Darrell Taylor. And he was coming off the edge. Kayvon Bennett really kind of burst onto the scene last year and did so because, again, when you've got a really kind of an alpha guy on the other side, you're not going to draw the double teams that guy draws. So, yes and no. Tennessee did bring pressure last year, but they were still able to get home with their edge guys. This year, you're hoping that Kayvon Bennett, can be Batman. And you're hoping that, some other guys, whether it be Roman Harrison or DeAndre Johnson or some younger guys like a Morven Joseph or Tyler Barron, can figure it out quickly and ascend into being someone who can help you, more and more as the season goes along.
Austin, last thing for you, man, and we'll let you run. We know you got a busy schedule. Biggest key to this game, what Tennessee wins if this happens, South Carolina wins if this happens. What's the biggest one or two keys to this game to determine the outcome in your mind?
I think for Tennessee, they've got to get off to a good start and not turn the football over. If they can get off to a clean start, be able to score some points in the first half and not turn it over, I think they got a shot to go into Columbia and win. I think any road team is going to have a much better shot than they normally do, just because of the fact that it's not really – it's a home game, but it's not a true home game. So, and that goes for any team coming to Neyland Stadium this year. And then as far as South Carolina, if you're South Carolina, you want to force JG into some early bad decisions and hope the doubt creeps in, here's same old JG, and see where things go from there.
Good deal. All right, that's Austin Price from VolQuest's.com. Thanks a lot for joining us, man. We really appreciate your time, and keep doing the good work over at VolQuest's.com.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Austin. Appreciate you.
All right, man, we're back. Good stuff there from Austin Price, VolQuest.com. We were stuffing our faces while while he was talking here at Market on Main. Food is excellent. And we did have one visitor, our first visitor, our boy Alan Franklin. Alan, if you're still on there, say what's up to everybody because you recognize that name. He's on YouTube a lot. So Alan is down here with the City Center Partnership in the Main Street District. So we appreciate Alan coming by. Alan was in his Gamecock gear, fired up for the game tomorrow. Alan may be here tomorrow for the watch party. You never know. So appreciate Alan coming by and saying hello to us. And we've had some other folks walk by that I think are just wondering what we're doing. Maybe that are thinking about coming to say hello, but maybe are nervous to talk to Chris Clark. I don't know. But what was your takeaway from – and by the way, y'all can comment again. Y'all stop talking when our buddy Austin was on there. But we got, I guess, maybe 15, 20 more minutes of the show. So give us your final questions. We will, at some point, hopefully be going live tomorrow for like a final countdown towards the game. But what were your big takeaways from Austin Price, dude? I would say it seems like, and we've said this before, but he sort of confirmed it, Tennessee is in a similar situation to South Carolina at the receiver position where they've sort of circled a guy and are saying, we need him to take over after losing some talent at that position. And we'll find out which teams, not new guy being asked to do more, can actually step up and do it.
Yeah, I mean, so that is the question for them. Some of their young guys, like a sophomore, Ramel Keaton, you look at Jalen Hyde as a freshman, some other guys, but Josh Palmer as a senior is the guy they've really got to get to take a step. He's been someone who's played a good bit for Tennessee, but now without Callaway, without Juwan Jennings, he's got to be the guy. So that's a question. They've got some good backs. They got a quarterback who has experience, sort of been up and down, and a good offensive line. So what the biggest takeaway was for me, though, man, was honestly just Muschamp said it on South Carolina's end last night. He said, look, we're playing Tennessee. There's no doubt about it. You didn't have to worry about is there going to be some last-minute test or a contact trace that takes out the offensive line or the defensive line or whatever. And from what Austin told us when we recorded the interview, and I think it's still the same now from what Muschamp said last night, everybody's good. So this isn't a game that it appears anybody has to worry about canceling. They're playing the game. And so that's number one in 2020. So that was the biggest takeaway. But other than that, just, the receiver position and a little bit on defense as well, just trying to find some guys to step forward and put pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, okay, so we got some questions coming in. Graham saying, I hope Shy can be Batman. I think Carolina coaches hoping that as well. He's been a solid, number 3 and and there's some different things you can use Shy to do that maybe you didn't necessarily have to when you had Brian Edwards on the outside, when you had Deebo Samuel. Shy, was in the slot a lot because he sort of filled that role while the other guys were your outside receivers. We're going to see Shy moved around a lot. So sometimes that guy is capable of catching more passes, of being more productive, but just doesn't quite have that opportunity. So now, but Bobo has thing we've talked about, we love about Mike Bobo. He tells you how he sees it. And he's been, he said Shy needs to be out there a little bit more. I think in practice, they're counting on Shy Smith. But I think with that comes an opportunity where he's going to be moved around quite a bit more than he ever has been, and we'll get a chance to do some different things. Now it's just a matter of him going and taking advantage of that. We had a question about the tight ends. We have 2 prediction questions. Over under Hill throws for 200 yards. So we got some good questions to get to here. I'll start with tight ends. Actually, you know what? Hold that, because I know if I don't mention this right now, I will forget it. You're talking about Muschamp during the call-in show. Here's the thing about Will Muschamp, and I hope the fan base realizes this. If they can get the program back onto the foundation to build off of and roll into this 2022 class where they're going to build a class around Gunnar Stockton.
Yeah.
There's going to be an influx of talent in this 2022 class. There's an influx of talent with the freshmen who we're going to see for the first time tomorrow as well. But Point being, I think Will Muschamp gets it, and he appreciates this fan base, and he gets all the other stuff, and I hope eventually the fan base will appreciate him as well, which is going to come with more wins on the field.
Sure.
Yeah. But the thing that stood out to me other than the football talk yesterday, dude, when he was talking about tailgating tomorrow. And he said, yeah, you guys aren't supposed to be out there tailgating. That's the official word, and I'm paraphrasing him. But I did see a lot of trash cans out set up at Williams-Brice Stadium. Basically saying, drink up. The Gamecocks need you. They need you to make some noise. Our buddy Pearson Fowler said it like this. He was like, every one person that comes in there is going to have to make the noise of like 4 people normal. So, dude, I'm like, Muschamp gets it. Yeah. Like, he wants you to get good and loose, get ready for the game, and go make some noise. So that was probably my biggest non-football, non-COVID takeaway from the call-in show yesterday. But yeah, okay, back to tight ends. Keith wants to know, I think tight ends, not just this week, but all season long, will be a big part of the game. Now, sometimes tight ends can sort of disappear as far as statistically. They aren't going to catch 8 passes every game. Yeah. But I think they'll be targeted a lot. Nick Muse is going to have to be a big part of this offense. But then you have a long list, we've talked about it, of unproven, at least in game situations, but I think really talented guys behind Nick Muse, most importantly, Chris, that have different skill sets. And you want to go into maybe your take on a few of the different guys, because I think the fans, we haven't really got to see these kids play a lot, but there are some unique skill sets and diversity of skill sets among this tight end group.
Well, I think the one that we maybe didn't see coming, or definitely speak for myself, I did not see coming into this year, was Will Register. Is a guy who's been around a while, mainly played on special teams, but he's someone who, I did wonder with Mike Bobo coming in, he sort of fits what Bobo does.
Oh yeah, we're good, man.
We're doing good, Trip. We're good, man. Everybody's good. Yeah, you want to take? Yeah, you can grab that. Yeah, we're here at Market on Main. Trip getting us hooked up. You can leave those.
Oh, my bad. I'll finish them off.
So Register was the guy that, in terms of Bobo, you felt like maybe he had a chance to make a move, but didn't know. And so he has. It looks like he's lined himself up to be able to play this season. Behind him, you got Kevion Mullins, who's a converted wide receiver who's put on weight. He's going to be an asset in the passing game. Keyshawn Toney, who's been around. Jaheim Bell's not cleared yet out of that freshman class, but Eric Shaw is someone we heard really good things about. He's probably the highest upside guy on the team when you just look at his athleticism, but he's got to get bigger. He missed some time in preseason with the bone spurs. So just getting him acclimated, will he factor in a lot in game one? I'm not sure. Nick Muse is going to pace the rest of that group. We sort of know at least a taste of what he can do skill set wise. You're going to need him to be really good. And then behind him, they need some of these guys that just haven't played a lot to play really well in game situations.
Man, I think if you're Bobby Bentley, if you're the rest of the coaches, if you're a Carolina fan, you got to kind of be proud of Nick Muse and how he's just taken some ownership of that group. And he comes in, he's a new guy last year, and there's some questions about, from some people, what are you doing bringing in somebody from William and Mary?
Bill and Mary.
Yeah. It's like he's earned his spot. Yeah. And now he's earned his spot as a leader in this group. And I think he's done a good job of building confidence within the other kids in this group. So I think they're going to be on the field a lot. I think there'll be some 2 tight ends where personnel-wise, if you looked at the letters beside their name, TE, you'd say, oh, that's a 2 tight end set. But where they physically are on the field, maybe it's like 3 wide, but one of your tight ends is split out into the slot. So I think to answer that question succinctly, yes, tight ends, big part, not just tomorrow, big part of everything that South Carolina does this year, and they're going to have to be. So we'll see. I have not given a prediction yet. I don't think Chris has either.
No.
I'm going to give one on Gamecock Central this evening in my
Oh.
Carolina Confidential.
Oh,
So you're just going to have to read that. Sorry. And my predictions are always wrong. So my actual game predictions suck. I'm awful.
the analysis is good.
I think my analysis, I hope is pretty good. And I think our info is where we stand out. I can tell you who to watch for. We can tell you who's got a good chance of, contributing in a big way to this team. Actually, who's going to get the dub on Saturday, especially this year, especially this game. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have any idea. I think we have an idea of how this game is going to play out from a game flow standpoint, but who is going to control this game? Your guess is as good as mine.
difficult.
Question about freshmen, and let's see. Kyriakis Kirk says Rico Powers. That's probably a good call.
Good pick.
There's several guys though, but Rico is strongly on that list. We go back, Marshawn Lloyd, obviously the loss there. That's someone that would have been at the top of that list. Get past him. Rico Powers the number one freshman impact potential for Saturday night? Or, I would maybe throw Jordan Burch in there, even not as a starter. Bear with me. If Carolina gets defensively into some third and longs and get to put their pass rush stuff on the field, I got to imagine that number 3, Jordan Burch, is a part of that, right? The natural pass rush that he brings. I don't know if Carolina has many guys with that juice off the edge. So for him, if he makes one sack that ends a drive, that's an impact, right? And you start to sort of, I'm going through the freshmen in my head right now. Who else are you picking?
The other one that I would pick is, I don't even know if you call him a dark horse, but Tonka Hemingway.
Yeah.
Probably not going to make as big of a statistical impact, right? But could see some snaps. He's a backup at defensive end. So he's in line for playing time, it would appear. He had a really good camp. So maybe he's one. But, I think those 3 would probably be a safe bet. Now, does Luke Doty work into the game somehow? If he does, and how, he could be one that could certainly factor in. I would tend to think one of those 4, though.
Graham is reading my mind. I was about to say the freshman that you don't want to see much of tomorrow, Kai Kroger.
Right.
Now,
Keep him on the bench.
do you hope he makes an impact with about 2 or 3 punts, maybe downs a couple of them? Yes.
Yeah.
Do you hope he gets 7 plays tomorrow? No. So we'll see. And Kai, Muschamp made a point. Kai is farther along than Joe Charlton at this point in their careers.
Right.
Now, will he end up being what Joe ended up being?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some old school guys who will say that I'm missing somebody, but Joe, maybe the best punter in school history.
Be hard to argue that.
Yeah. So we'll see. There's people I know here. All right. So, whatever questions y'all got. Kyle says Tonka. Graham says Kai. Kyriakis agrees with me on Jordan Burch. What else we got, man? I know we're going to try to go live some final thoughts tomorrow.
Yeah.
Everybody will be fired up for the game.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be curious to see the difference in the comments tomorrow when y'all have a few drinks in you on here and you're all fired up. And I don't know what time yet. I'd love to be able to tell everybody what time, but I don't know yet. So we'll see. But it's kind of getting at that point where the hay is in the barn, as coaches would say. And you look, soon the analysis will be over. And soon all that's left is just to kick this thing off and see what happens.
Yeah, man. Ready to go. Ready for some football for sure. So when we do go live tomorrow, we should tell them about the best way to figure out how we're going live. YouTube, right?
Yes.
Subscribe. Hit the bell.
Yeah, so if you're on YouTube right now, hit the little subscribe button, hit the like button. Then once you subscribe, hit that bell. It'll tell you when we're live. Share it on Facebook. Retweet it on Twitter. Whatever else you're on, just click all the buttons on your screen as I tell you.
Except
And-
dislike.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't click
Thumbs
that.
down
We
will
did
do.
get a dislike last one. I'm
Ooh.
trying to figure out who did that. But also, come on out if you're not going to the game. Come on down to Market on Main Street, Columbia, South Carolina. The tickets are to reserve your spot is $50 a head, but that pays for your meal, which is a 3-course gourmet tailgating meal. So essentially, you're just prepaying for your meal to reserve your spot right back here behind us. 23-foot screen ahead of us or over us right now. One day we're going to do this show and they're going to put me and Chris on that screen, supposedly. So we'll see. But come see Josh. Come see the crew. Trip, who's taken, I would say, excellent care of us today.
Oh, yes.
Trip may be here. I've not asked him, but he did a great job taking care of us. So, dude, what are your final things we need to tell everybody before we roll into tomorrow?
I think
Or
that's
have I hit it all?
I think we've about hit it all. Like you said, Hayes in the barn. We'll probably sleep on it tonight and wake up a new day with maybe some new thoughts.
We'll give some keys to victory.
Yeah.
I'll tell everybody my prediction. So if you're not a subscriber, which you should be, I'll tell everybody my prediction on the game. And who knows? We may get another guest. I don't know. We'll see. But by the way, if you're not a subscriber of GamecockCentral.com, use the code BEATUT. It's code BEATUT, 60% off your first year of an annual subscription. I don't think that you're going to ever get a deal better than that, though I could be wrong, but I don't think so. So that's live from now until kickoff. All right, y'all. If you got any more questions, save them for tomorrow. We'll be on at some point tomorrow afternoon. Come on down to Market on Main, watch party. He's Chris. I'm Wes, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you guys.